Hi guys, Chelsea from the Reading Outlaw here to do another tag. Today I'm doing the Reading Habits tag. I first saw this video over on Lindsay Ray's channel. The original video was done by the Book Jazz, and I will link to both people down below, of course. I actually really love watching this particular tag video because it's just a bunch of questions all about people's reading habits, and I love hearing about people's reading habits and processes, so let's get to the questions. The first question is, do you have a certain place at home to read? And I do. I'm actually sitting up against the back of it. This is a brown armchair that faces into my living room where my TV and stuff is. I love to sit here. It like pops out, so it's like a full recliner armchair. It's got this big armrest that has like a cup holder. It's absolutely perfect. I love a big fuzzy blanket and to just sit there and read on a Saturday. I absolutely love it. I haven't been doing as much of that since the baby was born, but what can I say? It's still like my favorite place in the house to read. The next question, bookmark or random slip of paper? Definitely random slip of paper. If I have a bookmark, I will use a bookmark. If I don't, I will dog ear or I will use whatever I can get my hands on. Excuse me. I try to make sure that whatever the random slip of paper is, it's not anything like too important or something I'm going to need to remember to get later, because sometimes I'll put something in a book and then I'll put the book away and I'll like forget about it for a while. So I try to make sure it's nothing too important, but yeah, I have no problem using whatever's around, including the book itself, to keep track of where I am. Stop anywhere or on a specific chapter break? I can pretty much stop anywhere. I prefer to stop at a chapter break, or like if the text runs out at the bottom of the page and then the next page starts like a new paragraph, I prefer to do that. But if I can't, I'll just stop anywhere. I have no problem. Usually when I read, I'll go back and kind of scan the previous couple lines anyway, just to make sure I'm like on the same page with where the story is and stuff, like plot wise and with who's speaking. But yeah, so I don't have a problem just stopping anywhere. Eat or drink while reading? Yes, and yes, whenever I can. I have no problem doing both. Some things are easier to eat than others, and some things are easier to drink than others. Definitely do more drinking than eating, but yep, I have no problem doing absolutely both while reading. Multitasking, music, or TV while reading? Yes. My husband has ADD and ADHD pretty bad, and so we are a house that's usually pretty full of noise. We usually have the TV going, although that's something that I'm trying to get better at by just playing like music instead, since we're not really watching the TV. But yes, I can read while watching TV. I read on my phone a lot, which for better or for worse leads to a lot of like multitasking while reading. But it does not bother me to do both. I've just always kind of been around noise and music and that kind of stuff when reading and studying, so it just really doesn't bother me. One book at a time or several at once? Several at once. You may see the Goodreads linked down below to verify, but I try to usually have at least one novel, one graphic novel, one nonfiction, and sometimes I'll be like one adult novel and one YA. So sometimes I'll have as many as 4 going. Those are just the print books. That usually doesn't count. I usually have an audiobook going in the car on the way to and from work, as well as an ebook that I'm reading usually while I'm at work, because they don't really like us to read like physical books, especially when we're on the desk. But if I can pull up my e-reader, that's usually all right. So yeah, I usually have several books at once going. I think right now I'm in the middle of 3, and then I just finished one and I'm getting ready to start another one. So 4, maybe one more. I don't know. I have a really bad habit of like starter-itis and then not actually finishing anything. So what are you going to do? Reading at home or everywhere? I read everywhere. Like I said, I read on my phone. I get ebooks that I check out from the library that I download to an app on my phone. I also have a Kindle account, so if there's something for a really good deal, or if there's something that I've just been really wanting to read and it pops up on the Kindle books for a good price, I'll usually pick it up. Sometimes, especially like the big epic fantasy, the Robert Jordans and the Brandon Sandersons and the Patrick Rothfusses and stuff, I'll get digitally so that I don't actually have to carry around the physical item. But yeah, I read everywhere. I found it really kills time. It helps me read more. That's actually a tip that I tell people when they ask me how I read. The way I do is that I read everywhere. So standing in line, audiobooks while driving, waiting for things, sitting on the couch while Mark's playing video games, pretty much everywhere. I don't have a specific, qualm or hang up about that. Reading out loud or silently in your head? Silently in your head. unless I'm like specifically being asked to read out loud. Sometimes I do read out loud to Mark when we go on road trips. If we don't have a good audiobook, I'll bring a book and read it out loud to him. But other than that, in my head, silently in my head, usually with an inner narrator, which is actually a thing that like slows people down when they're reading. That's why I'm not very good at like speed reading, because I like have an inner monologue narrator actually saying the words out loud in my head. But that's just the way I've always read. Do you read ahead or skip pages? No, but also sometimes yes. So let me explain. The only time I've ever skipped ahead is when I'm terrified that a character is going to die. This usually happens in Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, some of the big fantasy books. So I'll skip ahead just to make sure, because honestly, like, I can't enjoy the book if I just don't know whether or not they're alive or dead. I just can't, especially if they're a favorite character. This especially happens in Game of Thrones. But yes, I have done it before. I also once read the ending of a book. I skipped ahead and read the ending of the last Harry Potter book, which like you can see I'm like cringing and like reader shame because I just still feel kind of bad about it. But I skipped ahead and read the end because I just needed to make sure Harry didn't die. Like I couldn't go through that whole long investment of reading all 7 books only to have Harry die. Like if that was going to be the case, I was going to need to like emotionally prepare myself. Other than that, sometimes I do skip pages, especially sometimes in epic fantasy books, or in books that are very lyrical in their prose and they get on kind of a tear, like with the description or kind of going into something. I won't like skip them, but I'll skim them and kind of get ahead, just because sometimes I can't. There's too much to read in the world and I just don't have the time to read some of that. I make sure to get anything that's important. Sometimes if it's good enough, the writing will just sweep me away. But yeah, those are usually the only times that I like will kind of skim and skip pages. Breaking the spine or keeping it looking new? Breaking the spine. I have zero problem with breaking the spine. I'm trying to find, I have it around here somewhere, my copy of Game of Thrones. I don't think I have it here. I'll use this. As you can see, I've only just, I just started reading Les Mis. Actually, if you guys watch my classics tag, you'll have seen I talked about wanting to start this, so I just went ahead and bit the bullet and did it. But as you can see, I'm a little bit of the way in there, and that spine is already a cracking. I have no problem. I don't want to be that person who literally, right now, if I didn't want to crack the spine, I'd have to sit here and read the book like this. And I just couldn't do that. So it's, oh, I know that hurts some of you. I know. I'm sorry. I know it hurts. I should have warned you. I should put a spoiler or trigger warning ahead for book, people who want to keep their books pristine. But yep, no problem. No problem cracking that spine. It's just, I want to be comfortable and I want to be able to read my books comfortably. So that's what I do. I crack the spine to do that. And last but not least, do you write in your books? Sometimes, but not usually. Sometimes if it's a really dense book or a book by an author that I know is really going to take some looking at, I'll read with a pen in hand. This usually happens when I'm getting into some of James Baldwin's backlist, F. Scott Fitzgerald's backlist, Toni Morrison's stuff as it's coming out. Authors that I feel I'm kind of really going to have to unpack. I also tend to highlight and underline more on ebooks, and I don't know why, but that's usually the case. But in general, no, I haven't written in my books since high school and college. And on that note, since I'm clearly dying, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. That's the end of the tag. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and hearing all about my reading habits. As always, comment, subscribe down below, and I will see you guys around the internet. Bye.